Hi class, this is Christian. I just want to show you what the app looks like at this point, and we are getting close to the end of the course, so I want to show you the complete version of it so you can have an idea what it looks like. Now, this is in week 3, when we did week 3, unit 3 assignments. You should have added the add form, and I ask you to create a button here to hide and show the form. If you did that, that's great. If you have another way to do it, that's okay too. But the more important way is just to add form because we haven't learned routing at the time yet. So as you can see, if I click on these links here, they don't work, right? So we're still dealing just how to add the form. So if you click on this show form here, you see that it loads the form for you to add some data. Now to go back, I just click the link to go back here again. So let's just say I want to add a new data, and I also included validation here as well. If you just submit as is, I did not do any edit here. If you just click submit, you see that all these different messages show up on the form here, right? Again, you don't have to do this extent, but I just want to show you how that's possible using Bootstrap along with your a lot of these validation flags. So here I put a message up saying something's wrong, and as soon as I type something here to meet the requirements, one is already exists because I'm checking that data against the actual list here, right? All these IDs here are the actual flight ID inside the list. This is not the index, by the way. So that's why it doesn't work. If I do a 10, that should also fail because 10 is in the list. If I do 11, then or 101, then that's fine. So you can see that that goes away, and I have these other field to fill in. Okay. I also force this field and this field to be all uppercase when I no, that's this one. This and this three fields to be uppercase. So when I type something, it would just put that in all uppercase for me. And so if I do that, the airline will be, I'd set this to be capitalized so that when you type something, it will capitalize the first word following the Pascal case. And you do that, it's just kind of nice. So if I say, United Airline. Now a little bit tricky, so it may not take what you type here. You have to actually do another conversion inside React itself. But that's not that too important. And so that's satisfy. This is a drop down, so one of these is selected by default already. It is required, but there's no need to validate if you do it this way. Okay. And then the departure airport here, 2 to 5 characters. If I put just A and B, okay, and if I select submit, you see that it has to be between 2 to 5 characters. If I put AA and AA, you have another error saying these two airports cannot be the same, right? So they have to be different. So AB, something like that, that's fine. It passed. And then the dates cannot be empty. If you leave the date as, if you select these as date fields type, then this will be just empty. So you can check the length of these characters. These actually come in the form of strings, right? So these are blank strings, empty strings, so therefore they're required. And even if you just, select one number and make that a January or something, if you submit that, it would still say it's the same as empty string because it is a date. In order for this to be valid, all these fields must be entered. So if I put a date here, say the 8th, and if I come back on the 7th, like a day before, then again you see a message saying cannot be earlier than the departure date. So you validate that as well. And if I go a day after that, then it's all hunky-dory, I think. And then you go back to the form because once you click submit, it successfully added, and then it just changed the flag from true to false. And then you have the new list here, and it should be listed on the very bottom here. As you can see, we added that here. So as you can see, even though it looks nice before, we did not capitalize it in the actual code. So you have to do that extra step and in the code to convert that. Same thing here. This, however, I updated that already, so you can see that it's forced to be all uppercase, and you can do it in the code to make sure it's all capitalized. But so that's what you have been doing in week 3. Okay, so for this week, you're going to create routes. That means we don't need this anymore, right? So when you create a route, when I go to the about page, it should load the about content here. The flight list will list this flight, and then the add flight will show the form here. Okay, and so let's go and let me change this a little bit so you can see what's inside the code. So here is what I have. Now we need to import or include this new library for the routes to work. So you have to install that. I have the instruction on Blackboard to show you how. Basically, just npm install and then this router React router dash dom, and that will install it for you. Once that's installed, then you can import it to the root of your component. Usually routes are declared at the root component so that it will be available across the entire site. And these are just all the components that I have here. I went ahead and added the about and the home component here as well. Here is my added flight component, the add flight component here. I moved the data to a flight list, which you see here, and so on. Okay, and then in my constructor, I have the add flight, update, and delete all functions as well the show form. This is for again for unit 3, so we don't need that anymore. And I did that because when I click from the add button, it turns on this function, and it sets this value show form in the state here to be false and true, right? So if it's true, then show the form. Otherwise, false, then don't show the form or show the flight list instead. That was for unit 3. And so now, and down here, you can see that my implementations are here. These are something you need to do, and not that complicated, by the way. And then delete all is very easy. Just say set the state. You set that to basically nothing. Okay, you wipe the whole data out. And that's a very simple, just one statement basically for that. So here's the route. I'm going to turn all these routes on. So just select all these here and press the control question mark and then remove the form. This is the show form I had earlier, so I don't need that anymore. I turn that off. So here's my route. And these are the routes that you create for this week. So you can see that the path flights goes to the flight list and I pass the data I needed. The add goes to the add flight. Edit with an ID, okay, matching ID, goes to the edit flight. And the about goes to about, and the slash goes to the home. Okay, you can also add another one. For example, if I can add another one here to say slash home, also goes to the home. You can do that too, right? So both of those will go to the home page, either one of those. All right, so now once that's turned on, then I also need to go and make sure in your navigation app, notice in the main navigation on the left, I use the anchor tag. You want to use the link tag, okay, and then href replace with the to tag and attribute, and then you close the link tag here. Now, in order to use the link tag, two things must happen. One, in the root add component here, you must embed your component inside the router. Okay, the router here I made a shortcut. Originally it's called browser router. It's too long, so you can shorten that to something, an alias. You can just use router or R. It doesn't really confusing, but this is how you alias another class. Okay, so it must be wrapped inside the router. And not only that, if I'm using the link, then inside here I also have to import it in the top here to use that link. And so now my link is now active, and now because I'm using a link, my page will not refresh, right? It will load very smoothly. I did that for the left logo and my main routes as well. When you do the watch the logo here, and then these are the actual navigation links in the top right. So you do the loop, the map, and then each of those is also a link. Okay, so that's done. And then I think that's all I have. And now let's go back and see that my app, hopefully it should now be working very nicely. This is the home page now, as you can see. I just put two images here, and they're both linked to their particular place. So if I click here, it loads the flights navigation links. That's the same as going to the flight list and show that form. Okay, so my navigation changes, my page never reloads. As you can see, the browser here then never refreshes. My content changes. My app flight This is the form you saw earlier. The edit flag is you go from here. So again, if I click one of these, you see it on the bottom left over here, down here, you see the link that goes to the edit with the ID number 2. This is ID here, and 3. So if I want to edit number 3, if I click that, you see that I pre-populate the same field, the same form I used for the add form. So since it's the same form, you just make this into another component. You can call it, main form or something, and use that for both the edit and the add. And then the edit and the add, they have their own components, so they can validate these separately. But the validation is still the same, right? Very much the same. Just a small difference in the ID field. If you are letting the user to edit the ID field, then yeah, you have to validate that. If you don't, and if you just when you edit, if you don't require that to be editable, then you can leave it out. Like I mentioned in my assignment, saying you don't have to do that. Again, that's optional, but I can edit that as well. So if nothing changes here, for example, if I click submit, you see that successfully updated. And if you go to the list, you see nothing's changed. So let's just say I'm going to add a United Airline here. So go here, and if I change the ID to 10, you see that it's still validate because 10 is already existed. I can't use that, right? So if I change it to back to 1, but maybe the flight number has been changed to 1237. And if that's the only one that I changed, then if I click submit, and then if I go back and see, you see that now has been changed to 1237. Okay, so that's for the edit part. Now the add is the same as before. It's still the same, exactly the same, except when I click submit, and if it's all done, instead of going back to the home page, I'm to the flight list, I show the same message as you've seen before. So for example here, all the errors are up and running. If I go 1111 and flight would be something here, 5 characters long, and United or American Airlines, and then departure airport would be Chicago and back to JFK. Okay, and the dates are from tomorrow until Saturday, and then I add that, so you can see successfully added. Because I called this form, I remember I showed you that that was not used anymore. So when I call the add function, it's still called that. I should turn that off. And that reminds me, so let me turn it off. So here, the add flight, I'm going to turn this off here. You don't need that anymore, right? And so once I added that back, let's do it again. Just make sure it's loaded. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, AA 234, American Airlines, departure date type LAX, JFK, and the date will be tomorrow, and I come back on Saturday. Okay, so I added that. Go to my list, and you should see that it's added at the bottom here. Okay, and again, the capitalization here. So I saw that you saw the green message earlier. Now you can delete these as well. If I delete one of these, again, I'm not deleting the index here. These are actual flight numbers, right? And so that's why they're not re-indexed. If it's so, then this will start from 1 to 10 again. And as soon as I delete all of them, for example, if I do this, and I add another message to show that there are no more data when there is all gone. All right. I also add a new button to say delete all, just to delete the entire data. I showed you the function earlier. So to get a data back, you have to reload the page again, or you can create another button to say reload data. But I didn't do that, so you have to refresh it, and everything comes back again. So here again, at the bottom, delete all, wipes out the entire data. Okay, so that's for that. Yeah, so basically this is what it looks like for your completed version of the app flight, and your list, the about. I'm just put some, fake data here just to make it look nice. It's just a filler. And then the home page, just put the links here. No, the images, if you want to add images in your site, a little bit different from your usual way to do it. You would treat each image just like an import. So if I go to my home page, I'll show you the home container here. So I import the image in the image folder in the SRC folder. That's how you need to do that, right? So here my in my src folder. I have an images folder here. I have 2 images in here. So then I can access those, import them in as an object. Okay, and then I just link those inside the image source. src will put that there and you show the image. And then just like the regular image tag now. All right. So you can do that, and of course you can put the link here, which I did. I put inside the link tag that goes to the app page, and then the link for the flights to go there as well. So this is what you will be doing for this week, and then for next week we are going to learn how to retrieve data not from a local source, because right now we add the data inside our models, right? So all the data comes from a file. Basically, that was it. So this is not the way usually you do it. Really good for demo purposes, but usually you pull data from a data source like a database system or a text file or some sort. And we'll see again how much time we have, but the goal is to have you experience with running some database from Firebase. So Firebase is an online, it's a cloud database system that is very similar to MongoDB because it's a NoSQL database system that stores data the same way as you see here in JSON format. And we're gonna see if we can pull some data from a Firebase and then come back here and display those same data into the form here like you see here. Okay, so if you have any questions at all, please do not wait. Ask me and send in your questions. If you are stuck anywhere, again, just let me know. I will do another video or a couple more videos to show you how to get data from, how you do the edit, right? So for example, if I go to the edit page, if I click edit, how do you grab this data from the URL? And so that you can fetch the data from the list and display the content here. Okay, so I hope this is something that you have been doing. And again, I'm not expecting you to have everything fully functional like you see here, but hopefully that you have built something to take with you and use it in as a portfolio for yourself, your resume, and for your use. So any questions, again, please do let me know.